An XRP expert says if I don't go all in on XRP, I'm going to regret it for the rest of my life. Sounds pretty wild, right? But here's the kicker. It's not completely ridiculous to ask why someone could actually feel that strongly. So yes, you did hear that correctly. A prominent XRP voice recently claimed that not betting big on XRP right now is a mistake that you're going to never forgive yourself for. Now, as someone who's enthusiastic about XRP, but also a huge fan of sleeping well at night, I had mixed feelings about hearing that. Now, all in for life is a pretty serious statement, isn't it? So, I did what any curious, slightly stubborn crypto enthusiast would go ahead and do. I dug deeper. Now, in this video, I want to walk you through that story that I found, where that kind of conviction actually comes from, and what the data whispers, or sometimes even shouts, and how I'm positioning myself without turning my portfolio into a cliff dive. Now, I'm going to share a couple of tools that I'm testing to stack more crypto along the way, including a limited time way to get a little bit more of, well, I say, free XRP, and a small experiment with some phones that earn while I'm doing other things. By the end of this video, you're going to have a clear view of the argument for the all-in and the reasons to also be cautious, and of course a pragmatic middle path that lets you hold conviction without gambling absolutely everything. Okay, so here is the scene. The market looked pretty rough, right? We had a classic 1-2 punch, right? A surge that got everyone hopeful, followed by a sharp pullback that yanked the emotions back to earth. And right in the gloom of it all, this voice goes loud. Not going all in on XRP is a lifetime of regret. Why now? Why in a dip? And people who've been in crypto for more than 5 minutes know that dips are where the best stories often begin. But they're also where bad decisions can get made. Now, dips cloud judgment. They can make us chase or even freeze. They make some bold claims either sound like prophecy or even a salesmanship, right? So, before I even touch the all-in button here, which, to be clear, I'm not pressing, I want to be really, at least I want you to really think about the math, the psychology, and the practical steps that help me win whether XRP rips higher or even takes its sweet time. Let's talk about the math first, because that's what people throw around, right? The coulda, woulda, shoulda charts. Now, if someone puts a modest amount into Bitcoin a decade ago and just held it, well, they would be staring at millions of dollars now, right? Well, if someone had grabbed XRP when it was a fraction of a penny, then they're also looking at jaw-dropping gains. Those examples, they pack a bit of a punch because, well, they are true. They also hurt because they remind us that the biggest risk in crypto can be the risk of not participating. But that's only one side of the story. The other side is the graveyard of overconfidence. People who went just too hard, too concentrated, and well, maybe just a bit too early, and then watched the market spend years ignoring all of their dreams. That is why this topic hits a nerve. For every fairy tale, there is also a cautionary tale. So, where does that leave us? Well, it leaves us with a simple but annoying truth. Conviction, it needs a plan. If all in means putting your entire future into just one coin with no safety net, well, that is not conviction. That is recklessness dressed up as bravado. Now, if all in means I believe enough to hold a serious position, build redundancy, manage risk, and keep building my stack, then we're talking the same language. Now, I can be excited about XRP's long-term use cases and still keep my portfolio well balanced. I can prepare for both outcomes, the moonshot and, of course, the longer grind. Now, let me get personal here for a moment. Do I hold XRP? Yes. Do I believe in what it's aiming to do with cross-border value transfer and institutional rails? Also, yes. Have I been tempted to slam the big red button marked YOLO? Many times, in fact, but I've learned to ask 3 rather important questions whenever the adrenaline spikes. 1. If I'm wrong, can I recover? 2. If I am right, do I have enough exposure to be happy? And 3. Can I explain this decision to my future self without cringing? Now, those 3 questions, they pull me back from extremes and into a place where I can keep building consistently without any of the stress. Now, here is one practical piece that has saved me again and again. Redundancy with exchanges. Now, if you've been here for a while, then you will know platforms can go down at exactly the wrong time. It's almost like a rite of passage, I guess. So, what do? I keep multiple exchange accounts fully set up, fully verified, and fully tested. I do small test trades just to make sure that everything works as advertised. Now, that way, if one platform freezes up when volatility hits, I don't just sit there watching candles move while I'm being locked out. I'm actually already logged into another exchange and executing plan B or plan C. Now, it's boring preparation, I know, but boring prep is what keeps you from panic moves. Now, all of my preferred exchanges, they are listed on my own website, which is linked in the description below. That includes places that I've personally used, including those where I have affiliate relationships for. Things like BitGet and Bluefin, right? Because if you choose to use my links, it actually helps fund this channel at no extra cost to yourself. I keep all that stuff on the website to keep the description nice and clean and, of course, rather compliant. And because I want to have a single place where you can just find all of the latest recommendations that I have. Also, let me share a time-sensitive benefit that honestly is a bit of a no-brainer if you are already planning to open a new account. Now, I have partnered with Kraken to offer a simple promo. Sign up, trade at least $100 worth of any non-stablecoin crypto within 30 days, and you're going to get $25 of XRP as a bonus. It's straightforward. Make a trade that is above the $100 threshold, and you'll earn a little extra XRP to add to your stack. Now, the full terms and conditions are in the link in the description down below. Now, for me, this is a perfect example of stacking smarter. Right? Even if you prefer another exchange for day-to-day trades, setting up a Kraken account actually gives you redundancy, and you can scoop up a little bit of free XRP in the process. Now, this is a limited time offer, so check the details first, but it's one of those small, smart moves that compounds over months and years. Now, of course, check the terms and conditions linked in the description below because not all jurisdictions are eligible, so you want to make sure that you are, in fact, able to participate. Now, before we go any deeper, let me address the psychology driving the all-in sentiment there, right? Because it's not just greed. It's also fear, the fear of missing out, the fear of being the person who knew but just didn't act, fear of watching a coin that you've researched and talked about go on a run without you. Now, that fear is pretty powerful. Now, the antidote isn't to actually suppress it. The antidote is to put it to work. Now, I channel FOMO into systems here, right? A reoccurring buy schedule, clear levels where I will add more, and diversification that keeps a bad day from becoming a catastrophic nightmare. Now, I would rather be the tortoise who keeps walking rather than the hare who sprints off of a cliff. It's boring, maybe, but is it effective? Absolutely. Now, let's talk about side quests here, right? The kind that can quietly add to your holdings while you focus on your real life. Now, one project that I've talked about many times before, and I'll only touch on it briefly here, is Unity. Now, the idea is actually quite simple. Devices, like smartphones, perform little tiny telecom verification tasks that help verify and validate the network's reliability, and participants for doing this work get paid in crypto for contributing. Now, I did buy a Unity Masternode NFT, which came with 200 licenses. Am I firing up 200 phones tomorrow? No, I'm not. I'm going to start small with 10 phones as that app has now gone live. And I'm going to test it. If it performs as expected, then I can scale it up. And if it doesn't, well, I've learned something about, something new and something cutting edge without going completely overboard. Now, I'm going to be setting my payout options to be things like Bitcoin, Ethereum, ADA, and of course, XRP. Right? Whatever I earn naturally diversifies across coins that I already like. And for those curious but not really ready to buy a full masternode for themselves, I did pick up a couple extra Unity nodes, which I can lease out those licenses. So that means that if you are interested, and you want to participate without having to worry about owning 200 licenses and managing 200 devices for yourself, you can, of course, just lease one from myself. And of course, there'll be more details in our Discord, so check that out. That's linked in the description below. This is not hype, of course. It's not guaranteed. It just requires real-world setup, but it is a practical way that I'm experimenting with passive earnings of cryptocurrency assets. Okay, let's zoom back to XRP itself. Why do some people call it undervalued even after a rather tough pullback? Right? Partly this is because of the long-term arc of the technology and the growing ecosystem around institutional payments. It's also partly because they've seen this movie before. Adoption moves slowly, price lurches in bursts, narratives swing from euphoria to despair and back again. Now, for those with long memories, the late-stage regret is always the same. I knew and I hesitated. For those who went too hard at peaks, the regret is a mirror image. I knew and I overreacted. Now, the sweet spot for me is actually measured aggression, right? Big enough to matter, small enough to survive. I also want to call out something that often gets missed in all of this noise. That's time horizons. When someone says all in, I want to ask, okay, for how long? Right? Is it a day? Is it a month? Is it a cycle? How long are you actually thinking here? The longer your horizon, the more reasonable it becomes to build a position methodically and let compounding actually work. Now that is why I steadily accumulate on dips, scheduled buys that don't care about all the headlines, and the opportunistic kind of ads that when the market gives me those bargain ranges. Now, if XRP really does achieve the visions that some of its strongest advocates believe in, then it won't be one perfect buy that makes the difference here. It's going to be the countless disciplined decisions that add up over time. Now, this is a good place for a necessary reminder, and I'm going to say this next part verbatim because it really does matter. Now, this might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile, and you could lose all of the money that you invest. Always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and this video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Alright, let's get back to the practical path. Here is my stance then, as plainly as I can put it. I am not all in on XRP in the literal sense, and I wouldn't advise anyone else to be either, because I don't give financial advice, and because, concentration risk is real. I am, however, meaningfully exposed to XRP. If XRP does a big leg higher, then I'm going to be very happy about it. If it chops sideways for a year, but I'm going to keep on stacking on a schedule. If it dips further, then I'm going to lean into the plan and add at those levels. I've already mapped out, right? Now, meanwhile, of course, I'm improving my infrastructure, right? Multiple exchange accounts ready, two-factor and even YubiKey authentication where possible, withdrawals tested, backups are all in place. Now, I'm taking advantage of that Kraken promo to grab a little XRP and to ensure that I've got another platform tested out. And I'm experimenting with Unity to get a handful of devices quietly collecting crypto while I'm working on other things. Now, let me share how I break down the risk personally, because this framework has helped a lot of people in our community. First, I decide the maximum portfolio slice that I'm comfortable allocating to a single thesis, XRP in this case. Now that number is personal, right? It's big enough that I can feel the win, small enough that I don't draw down doesn't kind of completely wreck me. And the second thing is that I automate part of my buying so that the emotions don't turn every red candle into a courtroom. Third, I layer in opportunistic buys with strict rules. If price tags a level that I've pre-marked, well, I will add. If not, I will wait. Fourth, I will keep cash for flexibility. Opportunities aren't polite. They don't arrive when your paycheck does. Fifth, I track my conviction here. If the underlying thesis gets stronger over time, real adoption, partnerships, regulatory clarity, then I can adjust, or at least justify, I should say, nudging my allocation up. And if it weakens, well, I step down without the drama. On the topic of clarity and community, here's a quick invitation. Our Discord is free, and it's where I post a lot of updates and answers to questions and share resources. It's also where I drop information about leasing Unity licenses and updates on exchange promos like the Kraken one. So people share ideas, challenge assumptions respectively, of course, and they help each other avoid common pitfalls. So if you want accountability and a place to actually test your thinking, you can just come out and hang with us. The link is in the description below. Okay, it's time to address the elephant in the room. What if XRP goes on a run to levels that seem unrealistic a couple of years ago? Will I regret not going all in? Well, honestly, I probably won't, because regret for me isn't about leaving the absolute maximum on the table. It's about ignoring what I knew about risk and balance, right? If XRP smashes through new milestones and I only, have a meaningful amount and not a total position, well, future me is going to be okay, right? I'll be celebrating with you all, not beating myself up about it. Right? But if XRP struggles or the cycle takes longer than many expect, then I'm still going to be here, still building, still sleeping well at night. That's the trade that I'm making here. Fewer nightmares, still plenty of upside. And what about the other side? What if we're in for more volatility first? Pretty cool. That's why I have a plan for layers, right? That's why I set reoccurring buys. That's why I think in years and not weeks. Dips become opportunities, not emergencies. Sideways become stacking seasons, right? And big moves become a reason to rebalance, not a reason to panic. Here's a quick note on transparency, right? I put affiliate links for all of the exchanges that I use on my website. So if you do sign up through them, then I will receive small commissions from the exchanges. It helps keep this kind of content coming. Now, it doesn't cost you anything extra, and I really do maintain links for services that I've actually used and tested. So I'm also partnering on selected promos like the Kraken one, where if you trade $100 worth of a non-stablecoin crypto within 30 days, you will receive $25 in XRP. The details and the terms are always available in the description down below. And I'm going to be keeping everything clear because you know what? I want to trust the compound too. Now, let's loop this back to the original claim. Not going all in on XRP is a mistake that you will regret for life. Now, I understand the passion that is behind that. I understand the fear of missing out on a moment that could redefine portfolios. But I also know this. Regret isn't just about missing wins. Regret is also about ignoring risks. The sweet spot is conviction with craftsmanship. Right? It's the difference between the Hail Mary and a well-executed drive. Right? It's making decisions that you can live with on the bad days and cheer on the good days. So here is my final framing. Right? If you believe in XRP, make a plan that reflects that belief. Size the position so that a win matters. Build redundancy so you can act when it counts. Use opportunities like Kraken's promo to add a little extra without extra cost. Keep your tools sharp, multiple exchanges, strong security, clear rules. Set aside projects, or let aside projects like Unity, because they do add a trickle of new coins in the background too, right? And keep your focus on the long arc, right? Where your patience and preparation pay more than the adrenaline. Now, I'd love to hear what your take is on all of this. Are you closer to the all-in camp, or are you like me, confident but calculated? You can come and tell me in the comments below, or jump into the Discord and share your plans. Right? We don't all need the same strategy, but we all need a strategy that we can defend to ourselves and others when the charts get noisy. For now, feel free to smash that like button and subscribe so you don't miss what's happening next.